Kababayan Today at ngayon naman makakausap natin ang asawa ni Ivy na si David Haldane. Isang lifelong journalist, worked for the LA Times for 23 years and has also worked at LA Business Journal shortly before he retired. Let's watch this.
My name is David Haldane. I am 66 years old, happy to be here and married to a lovely woman. Well, you know, we met on the internet. It was a site called filipinaheart.com, and it really started out as just kind of a whim. You know, I'd been single for quite a while and had been frustrated with my experiences dating in the dating world in America. And so one day on a whim, I just kind of thought, God, you know, I wonder, what about, I wasn't really thinking about the Philippines, I was thinking about Asia, you know, and I Googled Asian women and popfilipinaheart.com, and I just started talking to people, and they were all Filipinos, and I was very quickly amazed and impressed by the quality of the women on there. I mean, educated, good women, you know. I was blown away, and I made the trip over there and walked in, and you know, her mom, you know, immediately, so you want to marry my daughter? And I kind of go, well, how would you feel about that? I asked her, you know, and so it went on from there. I loved the Philippines. The first time I went to Ivy's town in Surigao, and then also to her island of Siargao, to where the parents lived, a little barangay called Caridad. I was completely smitten. I mean, I walked into this little town, and there were children everywhere, and there were beautiful people, and as I wrote in the article, when her parents were interviewing me, the whole village was, you know, looking in the doors and the windows, you know, wondering what's going on, and I was charmed. And as difficult as some of those questions were, I was also very impressed that they were asking me these questions, you know, that they weren't just going to let their daughter go off with anybody. They really wanted to know who I was, what my intentions were, what kind of a person I was, and I respected that. I was impressed by that, and it made me realize that I came from a very good family, as I think a lot of Filipinos do. You know? But I also would put it in context. I believe that marriage always, throughout history, there's always been an economic component to marriage. You know, this whole idea of romantic love and, you know, that being the only basis of marriage is a relatively recent idea. Through most of our history, people married for economic reasons. The marriage didn't happen unless somehow both parties benefited from it, you know? And people don't like to admit that, but it's still true today. I would say that Ivy is perhaps the kindest person I've ever met. She's a good person. She has a heart of gold, and she's been a great inspiration to me. I would like to be more like Ivy. She has a positive attitude towards life. She has faith that ultimately everything will be fine. Whereas I tend to be a worrier, you know, and worried about everything. I would like to be more like Ivy, and I like to think that being married to her for the past 7 years, I've learned a little bit from her, and maybe I'm a little more like her in that respect now. But you know, it's been exhausting, but it's been incredibly satisfying and exciting. And in a way, you know, the age difference between us has kind of worked in our favor in that respect, because just about the time that my career was beginning to wind down, Ivy's was taking off. So it was a very opportune time for us. So when Isaac was born, we just kind of switched roles. I stay home now, and mostly what work I do is from home. Ivy has a career that's getting better every day and, you know, taking off. And it's worked well for us, you know, but it's been, it's almost been like a rebirth for me. And a lot of people were very skeptical at first, you know, like, oh God, at an age where most people are retiring, and I've got a little one running around, and I see that, and some days I think that, you know. Yeah, sure. but most days I'm just thankful and inspired by how this has given me a new lease on life. I think that people, you know, nobody really knows what's going on inside someone's heart, inside a relationship. I think people tend to react to stereotypes and preconceived notions about what's really going on, and that's especially true in this case, you know, where they have certain ideas about Filipinos, they have certain ideas about Asian women, they have certain ideas about older men with younger women. And after the article appeared, you know, there was a tremendous reaction of people saying, oh, you know, he just wanted a submissive woman, you know, which is really a laugh. And
Yes, you know,
anything
married
but
to a
submissive.
Filipino.
Yeah, Filipinos are anything but submissive, believe me. And anybody who knows Philippines knows that. So that was just ludicrous. And that I wanted a pretty young thing, and you know, she was just doing it for the green card and so on and so forth. Yeah, I understand all that. I mean, there's a perception out there, and it's gone on for a long time. You know, we in the old days we called the women like Ivy mail order brides. Well, you know, that's a very pejorative description, and people still in their minds have that idea. And it's what's interesting to me is how in America, as a society and as a people, for the most part, we like to think of ourselves as very, very tolerant people. And we are tolerant in a lot of ways, you know. But what I learned from the reaction to my article is that there are still some huge gaps in that tolerance. And so what I would say to people is really think about what you're saying in that context, you know, and just understand that, you know, things aren't always exactly as you conceive them or preconceive them. So, well, you know, it's been interesting. It's a mixed blessing. It's mostly good. I mean, they're good people. They take care of us. You know, they cook for us and they clean for us, and you know, they take care of Isaac, and that's all wonderful. And they're great people, and it's wonderful to have family around, and and I'm very happy that my son has his grandparents here, which is an experience I never had. I know that they come from a culture where families live in the same home. I understand that. And so I was going to say that that aspect of it has sometimes been a little difficult for me, because I come from a different culture, you know, where your parents don't live with you, you know, and there's a certain separation. So that's been a bit challenging for me at times, just to get used to the idea of having, you know, Ivy's parents in such close proximity to us, living with us. And also there's a language problem. You know, I have a hard trouble communicating with them. Their English is pretty limited. That's probably the most frustrating thing. I think everything would be a lot easier if I could just talk to them.